This will be interesting. A round carpet, no podium. Since we're in New York, if I get disoriented and I'm over here talking to the wall, I need a native-born New Yorker to say, "Yo, buddy," right in the middle. Okay. So, yo, buddy, right in here. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm an architect, and as Dave said, I lost my sight 4 years ago, unexpectedly as a result of surgery. So there's a disruptive idea for you. Sometimes you come up with a disruptive idea, and sometimes it finds you. And then today I heard it was a purple cow actually that got me. So anyway, where to start? Architecture is certainly laying in the hospital thinking about that. What do you do? How do you go forward with that? Luckily, there's some things you have to go through first to deal with that. Or first order of business is learning how to get around and do things. And quite frankly, I've learned that it's hard for me to talk about architecture without sight when people don't even understand how I get to work. And they actually kind of work together a little bit. Because actually using a cane is incredibly environmental in a sense of learning about the world around you. A lot of people ask why I don't have a dog, and it's because with a cane, you actively engage the environment. You're learning about the environment. You learn what's on the ground. You hear sounds bouncing off of buildings around you. You hear when you pass a building because all of a sudden that reverb that used to be there opened up, and you're hearing something else off in the distance. And it finds all sorts of stuff out in front of you, so your cane finds it and not your shin. So what I thought I would do is talk a little bit about getting to work, and then talk a little bit about work itself. And this one thing that came to mind was a day in the summer of 2009. I'd been blind for about 14 months, so 46 years old, but less than a year and a half old as a blind person. And I'm going to work, and I had to get from Montgomery Station in San Francisco on Market Street to the office at the corner of Battery in Sacramento, about 7 blocks away. And so anyway, it's kind of interesting. And I wanted to ask you to close your eyes. We had to do that earlier, but I was kind of nervous about that. As a former sighty myself, I know if this time of the day you close your eyelids down, you check out. So keep your eyes open, but try to think about senses other than what you would typically be aware of. To imagine hearing things around you, and to orient yourself to the environment through that, and to the ground underfoot, what you feel with your feet, or what, in my case, I would feel with my cane. This is actually almost like extending your finger all the way down to the ground. And you start to realize, carpet, concrete, tile, metal, and you start to organize all these things around you just as you would visually, only you're using an extension, a prosthetic off your finger to figure out what it is. So we're going to walk from Montgomery Station, 7 blocks away, and I don't have time to do the whole thing. It would probably take me a half hour to describe that whole process. So there's a lot of getting off the Muni car. There's listening to the feet in front of you. I come out, turn right. I know I'm headed off that way. And you don't see the stair, but you're listening to the footfalls of people around you. And they're all heading off the same way. So you're like, okay, stairs, we go that way. And then all of a sudden the feet seem to get heavier as they're going up the stairs. And it's like, all right, we're on target, stairs, going there. At the top of the stairs, and actually it's pretty safe. You think it's kind of crazy going upstairs without sight. The cane does really great stuff there too, as you can measure the height and know what's in front of you. So you get to the top of the stairs, and I happen to know this area pretty well, know it's sighted and blind. So I kind of veer to the left to avoid an obstacle in front of me and veer back to the right. Right then I can hear people passing through the turnstiles, the exit out of the gates. So make a beeline for that. And it's just like a football through the goalpost, right out, no problem, don't hit either side, just right out. And turn left to avoid the BART station in front. Come around that, and I'm listening to the sounds of the turnstiles at BART. I know where to turn then to go off down this filled passageway. And down the distance, you can start to hear the sounds of car traffic stuff. And And so I'm thinking, okay, this is right. And I turn and start going down. And this particular path, there's a very slight slope. A lot of people probably don't even know it's there. But I feel it with my feet. And the great thing about slopes in a hallway is you just get to walk like you're a drop of water. You just follow gravity. And all of a sudden, you got a straight line. And that's enough to almost give you the momentum to shoot straight down the hall all the way down to the escalator at the end. And then you start hearing the escalator. And a lot of people think, things should be quiet. Like cars should be quiet, like the hybrid. Well, sometimes that's not so good. You like to hear those things coming at you. Same thing with escalators. When you have a loud BART station or subway station, you can't hear where those things are. So good loud escalators go a long way. And even when your cane hits it, they approach on a metal apron. And they feel different when your cane hits it, and it sounds different, and it lets you know you're right in front of the escalator. You find the edge with the cane, you reach up, grab the rubber handrail. In this case, it's kind of fun because sometimes the escalator is going up, sometimes coming down. So sometimes there are hysterical people telling you which way it's going, and other times you just feel, well, we're going that way, so off you go. And as you raise to the top, you start to hear all the sounds from around the street off to the side, the newspaper vendor out in front, and even hear the fountain off in the Citigroup building off to the left. So off I go, and then you go off to the left to miss the newspaper stand, straighten up again to head straight down Sansom Street. I have a long way, and I got to go through scaffolding. But this is the financial district, which is great because it seems like 75%, 80% of the people in the financial district wear leather sole shoes. So just line up right behind somebody's clicking feet, and off we go, straight line through all the scaffolding. Don't hit anything. Don't hit any of the people waiting at the canteen to buy donuts on the side of the road, and get to the corner. So I'm going to speed up here, across the street. Don't have time to talk about the whole process. That's a day in itself. Across the street, listening for traffic, figuring out when. There's no audible signals anywhere, so I have to listen to traffic to know when to go. Crossing the street, turning down, and this time I'm going down Post Street. It's downhill, so again, I get to make like a drop of water, follow gravity, and just missing all the posts and things sticking out of buildings and people going around and going through a driveway, curb cuts and stuff. And so I'm going to fast forward up to another, hop over a couple blocks and get to the corner of my favorite corner, Battery and California Street, where there's 2 lanes of traffic going either way. It's going downhill to one side, where you're going across on the crosswalk. So gravity wants to take you downhill, and you're trying to go straight across. And there are 2 cable car lines in the middle. As you stand there, it's about a 14-inch drop at the curb. It's a biggie. I think it's the biggest one I found in San Francisco. And there's a bus stop right on your right, where buses will pull up and idle with a really loud noise. And then Starbucks is right on the corner with cafe sidewalk seating. So people are yapping, carrying on. And there's no audible signal. I got to hear the cars accelerating on the other side of the street because there's one way coming towards me. That's the only way I know it's time to walk. And sometimes I can miss 2 or 3 cycles of lights just trying to figure it out when to go. And luckily this day there's no bus. I guess nobody's hanging out at the cafe. I heard it picked off, went right away. It hit the curb cut right down the middle on the other side of the street. So it was like a perfect trajectory across. It's perfect. Everything was going so incredibly well this day. And I made it across to the next block, across 2 more streets, got to the corner of our building. This is a crazy building as a blind person. It's an old Federal Reserve building. So you got it. Lots of steps across the whole face of the building. Big pompous columns everywhere you went. The first 2 months I went to this office, every day I went up the steps, I hit a column. It's like how many columns are in this building? And they're on, you go up the steps, and you come to a landing, and the columns are right at the top of that last step. So there's no landing in front. You go like, boom, there's the column. So luckily you have the cane, you get it. And I'm an architect, so it's all right. And you got to shimmy across the top step. So I hugged the column. So I love architecture. You hug the column. It became part of my morning process. And people that worked around there thought it must be something really weird going on with this guy hugging his building. He loves work so much. So you shimmy around the column, go straight up, and you get to the front door. If you get to the right one, there are 3 sets of doors separated by huge things of planters. If you can't go it, if you're at the wrong door, you have to come back down the steps or bring out your handy machete and cut your way through to cut across to the other one. Luckily this day, I figured out 12 to 13 steps if you're in a good, strong mood, 12 steps. If you're slow and tired, 13. And that gets you to where you need to go. Turn left, boom, front door. Miss the columns. Worked that day like a charm. Came in all the way through, and it was perfect. Made all the way in, up to my desk. Didn't even hit the 4-foot-high vase that I have to turn around. It's really one of those things really small at the bottom, big at the top. And if you hit it, they wobble, which makes you really nervous when you're a blind guy going around that thing every day. And anyway, I missed that. It's like I made it all the way to my desk that day and didn't hit a thing. Didn't get disoriented, didn't get lost. And so I was like, set my stuff down. I was like, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Went back to the kitchenette. Could hear that once I passed the opening in the building. I turned in, got the kitchenette, went right to the sink, felt the sink with my hand. I was oriented, boom, right here. Open the cabinet. Here's a coffee mug. Grab the coffee mug, step over, stick it in the coffee maker. It's one of those individual things you stick in the pocket and push the button. It makes your own cup of coffee. So I stick it in there, do it all, and I step back. I'm like, I'm rocking. I'm about to raise the roof. And Vanessa from marketing comes by. Says, morning, Chris. Your coffee mug's upside down. And sure enough, I got coffee going all over the countertop. I was like, so it's a humbling experience after like the first perfect day of walking. But the point of it is that all that is about the system of learning to work with all these other senses in ways that I would always think that you couldn't do that without sight. But there's a methodology to it. And it isn't the loss of sight. It's the awareness of your capacity to organize your environment in a completely different way, through sound, through touch, through smell. I didn't talk about you could orient yourself to the smell of restaurants and things, but I lost all sense of smell too, so it's really touch and sound. But all that works really well. And then you start to think, how can you apply that to architecture? Is there value there? If all the other architects out there are obsessed with what does this thing look like, where do I fit into that? And is there a real opportunity there? And then where's there a market for it? How do you work as a blind architect? So tactile drawings. I have an embossed printer where I can take drawings from the architects and the same drawings they work on, create a PDF, print it through the printer, and I can read it with my fingers. That process is very different, but I actually find it's, although a bit slower, it has some benefits. One thing is I get to the point where once I really understand the space that I'm dealing with, it's almost as if my feet are at the tip of my fingers. And as I'm reading the drawing, I'm in the space. And I can imagine the space around me, the walls, the materials. I can even imagine what it sounds like. And it starts to suggest ways of how to design in the space, working with making difference in the acoustics, making difference out of a tactile palette of materials, not just a color palette of materials. And all the ways to work with all these different things so that you really create a much more rich, multisensory environment that really recognizes the difference between architecture and graphic design, and that it's a place for your whole body, your whole being, a place to be, not just a place to look at. So thank you very much.